Hey, we are live. Welcome to News and Views. Today we got a few things to talk about. Number one, is Christians in the United States finally splitting after hundreds of years? Christianity seems to be on the downhill slopes. We are slowly becoming outnumbered. People are starting to fall away from the church. That's particularly the Bible. There's two reasons why they're falling away. Falling away from the church is that they'd rather watch church on video. Uh, YouTube. YouTube does live streams of it. Why go to church when you can sit in your own home and watch it from the comfort of your house? Well, number one, let me tell you, there's a couple of reasons why you should be headed to church. And don't be like I am and put it off until it's physically hard for you to go to church. Um, One of the main reasons is the church is a place where you go to refuel yourself. Everybody knows during the week, if you live a true Christian life, it's going to be hard to keep everything up. The church is built, was designed for you to be able to come, refill your motors, refill a battery, come in, meet with your friends, people that believe the same way you do, and just have a day to where you're not going to be fighting every day. Number two, the next thing the church does is teaches you. Uh, we all got things to learn from the Bible. You can read the Bible 500, 600 times, and it will say something new every time you read it. Words don't change, but sometimes the meaning does. Uh, Things are not always as they appear to be, and then some things are. And what's wrong today will always be wrong. What's wrong yesterday is always wrong. However, there are ways that we can change in how we treat what's going on. We don't have to always be uh, mistreating people. In fact, we should never mistreat people. Jesus never mistreated people. Jesus would meet with them, go eat with them, and after he chatted with them, they were given a chance to believe in him, join him, or not. That's why whenever you met Jesus, you went away mad, sad, or glad. Uh, are we under fire from the United States? That's a complex question. There are different perspectives on the issue. Some argue that Christianity is under attack, while others are claiming that this is just an exaggerated and unfounded claim. If we look at the court system, for example, court cases involving religious liberties and the rights of Christians to express their public faith is 9 times out of 10 being found against Christians. And then it goes up the court till you get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court usually holds up Christian values. There's also a cultural shift away from the traditional Christian values and beliefs. This again can be seen in the way that we are right now. We are right now in the midst of splitting over LGBTQ rights and abortion issues. And I will be honest with you. and this is just my own personal opinion, I do not see how anybody that claims to be woke and lives the woke lifestyle can be a Christian. To me, they are diametrically impossible to be a Christian and one of these people that wants to just get rid of you. Christianity, for the most part, there are some that do not follow this, is for forgiveness, for love. We should always be the first ones out there when something happens. Unfortunately, we're not. Usually, other religions are, and the Christians get there late. The woke community does not believe in love. They believe that if you've made a mistake, that you should pay for your mistake. Now, do all woke people believe this? No, I've known there's some woke people that have a little bit of sense, some that have a lot of sense, and then some that don't have no sense at all. I don't believe that you can condemn somebody for some isolated sayings. I believe that everybody's got the right to believe the way they want to believe and to say what they want to say. Just because it offends you does not mean that it don't need to be said. Those are just some of the reasons why in our society that a woke person cannot be a Christian. Shootings are becoming a major issue. Uh, Tennessee just had another shooting, but this shooting was in a bank. Uh, at the First Horizon Bank in Collierville, Tennessee. The gunman entered the bank and opened fire, killing one person, injuring several others before taking his own life. The shooter was a 29-year-old man named Gabriel DeWitt. Not only that, now this happened back in 2021. And things have a lot, done a lot worse since then. We are in the midst of a climate of evil. We have shootings at schools. We have shootings at banks. We have shootings on the highway. We have shootings around town. Everyone here is trying to get their way and do what they want to do. They want people just to leave them alone. Uh, Crime is not being punished like it should be. We've got people walking around that ought to be in jail, but they don't want them in jail because the jails are too full. Uh, we gotta do something. We gotta be better. We got to start locking people up. We got to get control of the situation. Pulling guns off the street is not going to get is not going to help the situation. They'll use knives. You take knives out of their hands, they'll get rocks. You take rocks out of their hands, they'll find something else. If a person wants to do evil, a person is going to do evil. And you are not going to be able to stop them all. The Bible says in the last days that there will be a spirit of evil that will cover the nation, and I believe we are to that point now where we are actually seeing this. We had 2 teens arrested in Florida for killing 3 people. 2 teens killed a girl, took her car, killed another boy, killed another girl, and then tried to sink the car in a lake with the second dead girl in it. Didn't used to be this way. More and more kids are becoming criminals. As a school teacher, I can almost guarantee why. Because the parents either don't care about their kids, or they're going to run off and leave them with grandma, and they're going to do what they want to do. And grandma's going to have to raise them. And grandma is usually old, and she's raised her own. She's raised her own kids, and now you're pawning off your kids on her. It's not just the poor and the small towns and everything else. Rich have it too. There was a female boxer, I'm not going to mention her name. She had a son with a soap opera star. And while the soap opera star worked 5 or 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, or sometimes longer, she would train for her fights. And so she was probably gone most of the day too. Who was at home taking care of the boy? Anyway, the boy develops some personal problems, and the boy is sent to a mental hospital where he commits suicide. And now all of a sudden, the female boxer and the soap opera star are boo-hooing and snotting around because their son is dead. And I don't take me wrong. I mean, nobody knows more about losing family than me. But then again, you're going to worry about him now and show all the love you can after he's dead and gone. It's like Brother Jim used to say, dead noses smell no roses. Where were they when the kid really needed them? Now, I could say, I could blame them. I won't. I could, but at the same time, they don't have no right blaming the hospital. A lot of the problems we have in our society today comes from the falling apart of marriage, and I'm talking about marriage as being man marrying a woman. Now, I could open up a whole new can of worms. I'm not going to do it because I beat this to death in previous deals about, is a man and a woman a woman? The only thing I'll say about that is if you've got a man's anatomy parts, you are a man. If you have a woman's anatomy parts, you are a woman. If you present your, if I know you're a man, I'm going to use he and him. But your woman's going to be she and her. I don't use them and they unless it's two or more people. And I sure don't use it unless it's an animal or something else that's still. But getting back to what I was talking to originally, a lot of these people are here getting in trouble. We're talking about teens. It's because mommy and daddy are out of the picture. Mommy and daddy care more about the dope than they care about the kids. Or they care about other stuff more than they care about their kids. And until we get right, until we get right with God, get our families back on kilter, we're going to have this problem. And I don't see this happening. We're to the point in the United States, and this is my third point for today, that the right and the left are no longer working together, no longer talking, either one way or the other way. We have a Republican House, a Democratic Senate, and all the Republican House wants to do right now is to show up the Democrats. They want to do all these investigations on Hunter Biden and President Joe Biden and all these other people and kick Mayorkas out of his job and a few out of their jobs. But I have not heard anything on how they're going to solve the main problems in our society. How are we going to solve the border? How are we going to solve inflation? How are we going to solve all these high prices? Gas is going back up. How are we going to get that down and keep it down? I knew when the gas was going down and everybody was saying, oh, it's great, the gas is going down, everything's going to be fine. No, it's not going to be fine. They use tricks to bring the prices down until after the elections, and now that the elections are over, the prices are going shooting back up. And they think that you're stupid enough to fall for it. And I'm not just talking about the Democrats here. I'm talking about the Republicans and the Democrats. They don't think too much of the American people. They think the American people are stupid. They don't work for the American people anymore. Your representatives work for the party. The party is what runs America. That's dangerous. They have convinced you that only politicians can run the country. Normal Americans don't have any business on here. Now we had some stuff left. We had some stuff released last year that talked about us and the Russian, so our soldiers and Russian soldiers fighting. Had this not been leaked out, we would never have known about it. But somebody leaked it out. We found out about it. People in Washington don't want us to know about it. People in Washington didn't want us to see the tapes that Tucker shown on January 6th. They were showing the fellow with the horns around having a nice chat with him. With no insurrection. Nobody was hurt. I promise you, if they had had somebody leading there, things would have happened a lot worse. You would have had dead senators, more dead police, more dead riders, you would have had a war on your hands, and you would have had, and if that had happened, you would have had more problems in America than you got right now. Because once the American government starts to shoot its own people, that's going to be the end of it. You don't believe me? You look at Russia. Russia opened fire on their own people. In less than 2 years, Russia went from being ran by the Romanov family to being led by communism. And the last of the Romanovs isn't even buried with the rest of the czars. He's buried in a mine in Siberia, him and his whole family. They shot and killed him, then dropped him in a mine. And let me say, while we're talking about Russia, Russia is not our friend. Russia will never be our friend. Russia will always be an enemy to the world. China is an enemy to the world. Iran is an enemy to the world. And they torture our brothers and their sisters in our Christian faith that goes over there as missionaries. They kill them. They lock them up, torture them there. But you know what, Mr. Lee? You see, that's not where the story ends. The story ends, you go to Revelation, the last 4 chapters. You'll see how your story ends. You'll see that you kill us, and you kill the tribulation saints, and I know you're going to kill them, except for the 144,000 preachers. You won't get them because they're protected. And the witness will be, 2 witnesses are protected for the first half of the tribulation. But once it looks like that you're on the verge of winning and that you are finally going to wipe out Israel, because that is the goal that's being set. As soon as you go in to finish off the children of Israel, the heavens are going to open and we're going to come back down. The ones you've murdered, the ones you've killed, the ones you mistreated, the ones that were raptured at the start of the tribulation, we're going to come riding down. And what's left of the world, we're taking. Jesus will be king, and we'll be the only one, and we will be the only ones left, because right after Armageddon, we're going to have the sheep and the goat judgment. And those of you that are not followers are going to be sent to hell, along with the Antichrist, the beast, and the false prophet. The only one not going to jail is going to be the ones that you chose to follow. His name is Satan, and Satan's only going to be locked up. Satan is going to have less time in hell than any of y'all are. That's decided you want to go to hell. And I know there's some people out there say, yeah, we're going to hell, we're going to go party with our friends. No, you're not going to party. It's a place of torment. You're going to be in a bottle, you're going to be falling in a pit that is burning eternally. And you'll never know peace. You'll be able to look up and see us in heaven, but you won't be able to get out of there. For us Christians, true Christians, there's going to be a lot of phony Christians that's going to be in hell. The Bible says people are going to come up to me and say, Lord, Lord, didn't we do this for you? Didn't we do that for you? And he's going to say, is this your name in the book of life? The angel's going to look and they're going to say, no, Lord. And the Lord's going to look at you and say, Depart from me, I never knew you. At that time, your case is over. You've been convicted. They're going to throw you into hell. I have a lot of friends, I have a lot of family that will probably wind up in hell. I don't know, it may not be. But, a lot of this goes back to what we were talking about a while ago. Parents need to start taking part in their students' lives. I could tell you 1,000 stories about some of the ARD meetings I've sat in, and I won't mention no names because number one, it's none of your business. Number two, legally I can't. But I've had parents. We've told parents that their kids have a very low IQ and they need special ed services, and the woman was cared more about getting out of there and doing what she had planned for that day rather than talking about her kid. There's been other athletes that had their kids in special education and didn't bother to show up. They sent their nanny to show up. Now, that situation I do understand, but at the same time, it does not look good. Uh, what you parents do to your kids is going to come back to haunt you, and it's going to haunt the kids. I promise you that if you stay part of your kid's life and you treat them like a kid and don't treat them like a friend, kid does wrong, you need to punish the kid. That's the only way the kid's going to learn. Now, does that mean spank them? No, not necessarily. Some kids don't learn from spankings. Some do. I always had to be shown. Had a hard head, and as my friend Vera Francois says, hard head leads to a soft bottom. There's other punishments. Take stuff away from them that they love. Ground them. Make them dig a hole and fill it back up. There's thousands of things you can do to punish a kid. You don't have to spank them all the time. Question is, but the thing is, you don't want to punish them because you don't want to have anything to do with them. You want to have them. Oh, you want the kids, and then they're like a toy. Once you get tired of them, you toss them to the side, and you can't do that. Again, I tie that back to what's going on in America today. We're having shootings because the church has failed, the government has failed, parents have failed. Now the question is, can this country be put back together? Can the right and left start getting along again and work things out and actually negotiate and compromise? I don't see it happening. That's why I'm calling for the breakup of the United States of America. Not permanently, just so we can just get away from each other and try to come back and try to fix things when we can compromise and we can work together and not be idiots like we got up there now. That's what happens when you put the scum of the earth in there. We are right now electing the scum of the earth. I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 out of 550 House and Senate people that are worth their salt. Personally, and I've said this a million times, I think they ought to be arrested and tried for treason. They're not working for the government, they're working for the party. And and the main thing is trying to keep the party in power. And they will try to steal the election, they will try to ruin people. And the media is getting on it too. The media is not no sane in this. They try to pretend, oh, we don't do nothing. We're such good people. Well, you're not good people. You're all idiots too. I don't care if you're Max News, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, A through Z. There's not a one of you that's going to ask the big questions, the hard questions. Or you'll talk about it, but it's either gun rights or no gun rights or citizens' rights or anything. There ain't a one of you that wants to solve any of these problems. And you're going to let it go. And every time there's a shooting, you're going to be the first one over there and you're going to say, this needs to be done, that needs to be done, this is going to need to be done. Nothing is going to get, you ain't going to do nothing because you never had any plans to do it. You're going to disappear back into the woodwork until the next shooting happens. And you hope it's going to happen because you can be in front of a camera and you can just say all these things you think America wants to hear. And then you'll go back to where you came from and you will pray and you will wait for the next shooting so you can come back out and do it all over again. We're getting tired of it. Banning guns is not the answer. People are going to get guns. They're going to get them on the black market. They're going to get them from other people. You're not going to stop guns. You take them away from the good people, the only ones going to have them is the bad people. And you can't trust the police to get there anymore because we're not going to have a police department because everybody wants to defund the police. They want to bring a national police department out here. Oh, that's going to work well. It's not going to say everything, and everything our government touches turns to mud anyway. Might as well do that. We let criminals go, but we lock up our former leaders. We're working on locking up Donald Trump right now. And there's a lot of other criminals that's walking the streets because nobody wants to take the time to try them. They didn't do enough. Are they doing it because their ancestors were slaves and they don't know any better, or they're so rich they don't know that stealing and killing is bad? Well, there's other thousand different reasons. It's not just the poor black people that's getting off, it's the rich white kids that's getting off. And a lot of them are getting off because the lawyers come out and say, well, they're rich, they don't know any better. You don't believe me, you check the internet for that and see how many kids have walked because of that. See, that's what the church used to be. Church used to stand in the gap to help the parents and help the kids. Church used to stand for something. I'm going to get on to the church now. I've gotten on to the United States. I'm going to get on to the church. There was a time when we did have the moral upper ground. There was a time We kept families together, helped keep families together. There was a time we kept everybody on the straight and narrow. But it's like everything else. As time goes by, things start to change. People start to change. People that people that you thought you could trust, you can't trust anymore because they're abusing kids, they're abusing women, in some cases they're abusing other men. We've got fights going on in the church now. Methodists split over what's going on. Hey Neil, it's good to see you, bud. Uh, Methodists don't want homosexuals preaching in the pulpit. And it got so bad that they split. The Southern Baptist Convention is discussing whether or not to allow women to preach and teach in the pulpits. Personally, I don't see no reason why not. It's not really any rules per se. That there's been a lot of people that said uh, that they didn't, that they shouldn't, that that's in a man's plot. And if if you believe that, that's cool. I don't have any problem with it because if you ain't gonna find a man to stand up to do it, someone's going to do it. If it might as well be a woman, or you're going to be in a lot worse trouble when you have to stand up and face God. Well, you're going to be in trouble when you face God anyway, because if you let a woman do it, that means you wasn't man enough to do it. And I don't think there's many men left in the church anymore. I think I think most of the church members, and there still are a few good ones, don't get me wrong, but a bunch of y'all are milk toast sissy britches. And you're not going to stand up for anything because you're afraid to, which means you're going to fall for everything. Uh, the church is as much to blame for what's going on in the world as the government is, and as everything else is. The church has got to get back to the basics. We've got to get back to what we were called to do. Now, when I was going to Sigleville, we had a church that ran 60. We brought in a preacher. His name is Brother Jim. Most of you, I know, I talk a lot about Brother Jim. And I want you to pray for Brother Jim. He's recovering from his cancer surgery. I figured he was going to recover from cancer surgery because I don't think God wants him up there right now. And when Jim does pray, we go to heaven. I want you to pray for heaven. Not that I dislike Jim, but I already know what's going to happen on Tuesday nights. Jim's going to go up to the throne room and say, and he's going to tell Jesus, "Let's go visiting," and then they're going to go visit all the members up there. And that's all right. That's the way Brother Jim is. I don't even think death is going to slow Jim down. See, y'all might want to pray for heaven for when Jim does go, because he's going to say he's going to try to set that place on fire, and if anybody can, Jim can do it. But Jim took our church of 50. He introduced prayer. He introduced visitation. He introduced discipleship. You want to be a Christian? Fine. That's step one. That's not the end of the journey. Now, me, I made it the end of my journey. I accepted Christ, and then I stuck Christ in my billfold and stuck my billfold in my back pocket. And when I got in trouble, I pulled God out of my pocket like I'd pull a credit card out of my pocket. And when I got out of trouble, God went back in the pocket and stayed there till I got in trouble again. It wasn't until the accident that I figured out that wasn't the way to live. Once you become a Christian, that's not the end of it. You need to learn the spiritual gifts. You need to learn the instructions God left you. You need to get into the Word and start studying it. That's just how I look at it. Well, my time is just about done, so I don't want to go over time. I've been known to be long-winded, but just remember, the government is not side with the church anymore, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Number two, parents, take care of your kids. Don't let your grandparents take care of them. Because what you do is going to affect everybody. Uh, and number three, church, get back to basics. Disciple new Christians. Don't do the old Baptist thing. And I love the Southern Baptist. I'm a Southern Baptist. But sometimes what some churches do is terrible. You preach the sermon, you sing your songs, you preach your sermon, you give your invitation, you come down, you shake the preacher's hand, you say a prayer, you fill out a card, everybody shakes your hand, and that's the end of it. Unless you're getting baptized. Then you get baptized, then that's the end of it. They do not teach you anything about what comes next. A lot of things is coming next. That's why I've been trying to teach y'all about the last days. Those days are coming upon us fast. And if you're not prepared, then either you or some of your loved ones are going to get left behind, and it won't be a pretty sight. All right, I'll see y'all next week. You have a great week. We will talk to you later. Neil, thanks for stopping by, and be good. And be sure to go to church tomorrow. Bye bye.